Another thing you want to do is you want to create strategic alliance partnerships with much larger competitors. So when I try to explain this to entrepreneurs will always say, well, why will company X want to do business with me? Well, large companies tend to have lots of bureaucracy, and they understand that. And so for a large company, because they're a large company, they have large marketing budgets, and they are constantly fed with lots of leads. But for them to actually execute on those leads is very difficult because of the bureaucracy. I always use the example of when I started my company as an information technology support service company. One of our strategic alliance partners was Dell Computer, and I would give the example of someone at Dell could look out their window and see a $100 bill on the grass. For them to be able to get up from their desk and go outside and grab that $100 bill, they need to get 10 levels of management approval. It was much easier for them to give me a call and say, Jeff, there's a $100 bill outside my window. If you go out and get that $100 bill and bring it up to my office, I'll give you 10 of those $100. So, for me, that's free money. And doesn't take me a lot of time. I don't need to ask anybody to walk outside and grab that $100. I just do it. But for a large company, they don't have that freedom, and they understand that. So, large companies like to work with small companies because of the nimbleness that small companies have. Small companies need to understand that, that nimbleness is a competitive advantage, and that's when they approach a large company to be a partner, that's what they need to articulate, the value they bring to that partnership. Another thing is when you create those strategic alliance partnerships with larger entities and you start to get fed with leads, it's building a world-class customer service delivery system into what you do, so that you evangelize your customer base. I always give the example of, again, with my IT firm, we had a customer that I would go to events. They were a chamber of commerce, and I would go to events, and I would see this executive from this chamber of commerce at events, and when I walked into the room, she would run across the room, grab me, and bring me over to whoever she was talking to, and would tell me, oh my God, Jeff Kent and his company, these guys are the greatest things since sliced bread, and we use them, and this is what they do for us, and this is why they're different, and blah, 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 blah. By the time she finished, I had a new customer. And I don't know how many new customers from this one client, because, she was so effective selling my services to her peer base. I never needed to hire a salesperson, and I give entrepreneurs the example of, if you're selling 10 products or services, there's going to be a customer that is buying all 10 of those products and services from you, and then there are going to be customers that buy one and some smaller fraction of those products or services from you. If you can figure out who those, when you focus on who those customers are that are buying all or most of your products and services, and reach out to those customers and try to find out from their perspective why they're buying all of that from you, you'll gather some really good information that will help you then sell to not only customers who aren't existing customers, but the existing customer base who aren't buying all those products and services. Because the reason why those customers are buying all of those things are probably reasons that are shared by other people that you're just not articulating, because you haven't taken the time to understand why those customers are buying those things from you. So again, evangelizing that customer base so that you don't need to go out and hire external salespeople is another thing that companies can do to scale growth very successfully. Another thing is, and we mentioned this a little bit earlier, is you need to measure and monitor financials, but you need to measure and monitor leading financial metrics, not lagging financial metrics. So if every company has to, every company monitors what are sales, how much profit did we make? Those are lagging metrics. You can't impact those numbers You know, when you know you've made a sale, the sale's already happened, right? So you can't impact it. So it's not important. I mean, I understand for investors, you need to give them those numbers, but what's more important are the leading metrics that generate the sales. You know, what are the things that you do that get you to a point where you actually get a sale? Well, you know, and that could be, you know, how many emails did I send out? You know, how many sales calls did I go out on? How many proposals did I generate? How many presentations did I make of those proposals? When you start to articulate to yourself what's that sales process and what are those things that fundamentally happen before I get to a sale that lead to a sale, and you start to monitor and measure those things, the sales will happen. And so those are much more important than the sales themselves. So it's understanding, you know, what are leading metrics for your business and measuring and monitoring those leading metrics. It's understanding what you as a business owner, what your skill sets are, and putting yourself in the right place within your own company. So you'll find that successful companies tend to have this tandem Batman-Robin team of, you've got someone who is an outwardly focused executive who is building relationships for the business that bring revenue into the business. And that person tends to be teamed with someone who's more inwardly focused, who is focused on building attracting the right people and putting them in the right places, building the right systems, processes, and procedures, so that as those sales come into the company, all of that work is done as efficiently and effectively as possible, so that you're making the most money possible and generating the most profit possible. And those two skill sets tend not to be found in one individual in most cases. But also, you know, entrepreneurs always want to be, you know, I'm the CEO. Well, the CEO tends to be that outwardly facing person, but there are a lot of entrepreneurs that don't like to talk to people, you know, and so it would behoove them to find someone to team up with them if they're that person that doesn't like to interact with other people, to find someone that does and make that person the CEO, and you as the entrepreneur maybe be the COO and Chief Operating Officer and be that inwardly focused person. But that requires you to be able to put your ego aside, which is difficult for a lot of entrepreneurs. Easy way to think about that is that as the owner of the business and the founder of the business, you own the business. So that your title in the business is irrelevant.
Do you think people get hung up on the title of CEO?
Absolutely, absolutely. And for no reason, because as I said, at the end of the day, you own the business. When the business scales and grows and becomes infinitely valuable, and you sell the company, all that money comes to the owner, you know? So I tell people all the time, I'll sweep floors in my company if that's the best role for me, and I'll bring other people in to run the company if at the end of the day, you know, in 5-10 years, whatever the case may be, whatever my exit strategy is, the people that I bring in to run the company are able to execute on my vision and my strategic plan for the business, and allow me to get to my exit, and you know, get to a point where, you know, if going back to what I was saying earlier, if we created a $200 million company in value and I own 50% of the company and was able to get $100 million and retire on the Riviera for the rest of my life, if for the next 5 or 10 years I had to be a janitor to do that, I'm happy to be a janitor, you know. And that's an attitude every entrepreneur has to take. So it's you know, again, understanding that, you know, and creating that inside-outside leadership team. Really, the last thing the last element is creating a board of advisors. But what most companies have boards. Most boards are ineffective. Most boards are ineffective because boards tend to be populated with people that are executives in the company and investors. And that doesn't always help you navigate through the obstacles that any entrepreneur is going to have to overcome as they scale a business. It's important that you stock a board with people that I will call essentials experts. So there's a couple types of people. One, it's individuals who are CEOs in similar businesses who don't view you as a competitor, who've already done what you're trying to do. Because the information that they can give you, if they've already overcome the obstacles you're going to overcome in this industry, is invaluable. Now, the trick to this, because an entrepreneur will say, well, why would a CEO from some company that I view as a competitor, why would they join my board and help me grow my company? Well, the trick is finding people who are those leaders in competitive businesses who are over the age of 50. And the reason I say that is once you hit that magical age of 50, death is closer than birth. And so your focus on the world tends to change, and you tend to be more focused on how can I give back, much more so than in that first 50 years of your career, where your focus is, what can I get, because I'm trying to bolster my career.